Hi, I'm CJ and this is my RC channel.
So now we are on to bag H. Everything's starting to come together. And we are, oh, there's the other bearing. I knew it was on the table somewhere. Okay. Okay, one step at a time. Let's go nice and easy. So we are on to steps 1 through 7 of bag H. Okay, our motor is going to go in here. And as you can see, we've got 3 slotted holes and 1, 2, 3 holes that screws will tap into, and that will allow us to move our motor left or right and align ourselves with the ring and pinion gear. Now you notice these slots here and here. There are 2 pieces fins that stick up. Those are going to go into these, and those allow us to slide this motor carriage left and right like so and get the proper gear lash adjustment. So those screws are going to be something that they're not telling us. Here we go. They tell us on this side of the drawing. Those are 1.6 by 6s. And those have like a built-in washer. So that is these 3 screws right here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those free. And I definitely advise, you know, just the way I'm doing this, going through each little pouch one piece at a time as you need them for the specific job. I mean, that's one of the reasons they set this up for us like that, so that we can do that. And I think it's wise to just, that way you know that you're using the right screw for the right part of the car. Because if you didn't use the screws with those little washers, these screws would pass into the plastic and they'd bite in and they would not allow you to adjust. It would ruin the ability of that motor mount to slide around. You wouldn't be able to adjust your gears past the first time you tightened it down. I don't need to overly tighten these down because we don't have our axle in to do an adjustment yet. I'm just getting them fixed in position. And we will go from there. So now, as far as the motor mount goes in this wire here, I probably want to rotate it so the wire is more on the side. But again, I'm going to wait a little further into the build and decide on that. Because it may be fine having it underneath this cover here. May not need it, may not be a clearance issue. On the other hand, it may. So let's just take it a step at a time. Servo is next. Sorry about that. So you can see the double ellipse cutaway there for the shape of our servo. Just drops right in like that. Pull the wire up against the side so it doesn't catch on that tab there. And we'll route it as needed. And here is our servo mount, our servo cover, if you will. And we need 1 by 4 by 8. And it's another group of 3, but there may be more 8s used elsewhere, so let's see. Are those flatheads or countersinks? It's hard to tell. Let's see. Let's zero that out. Which ones are our 8s? Probably not these. No, those are. Those are 8s. And those countersunks look like those are going to be 7s. Okay, so they must use that same screw size in other locations. I'm going to go ahead and open that pouch. And we're going to need 3 of those. Okay, servo is mounted, motor is mounted. On to steps 2 through 7. This looks like our steering bracket or steering linkage here. And that is going to slide back and forth right there. And we need our little steering arms. These are in place of what you would, on a larger car, you'd have turnbuckles. These are just fixed links. And you use 2 of them on each side with a 1 by 4 by 6 countersunk. And that is, these screws here are the 1 by 4 by 6 countersunk. And there's different thread types, so bear that in mind. Those look like our 6s. I think those are an 8, but these are probably also 6s. And if you look, these have a fine thread, whereas these are a self-tapping coarse thread. So these are going to thread into something like metal, probably. Someplace where there's already threads, more than likely, or that's what one would expect. Whereas the self-tapping ones are going to go straight into plastic, and they will cut their own threads when you screw them in for the first time. Now again, this is something we don't want to tighten to the point where it doesn't rotate easily. We don't want them to jiggle up and down, but we do want them to turn easily. Like that. And I'm guessing the reason they gave us 2 of them per side is just for strength. One of them on either side would probably be a little too loose. You know, as in flexibility wise. Wouldn't be rigid enough. Wow, they just jump right from there to there, huh? Okay. So our steering linkage is going to drop right in here, and the pin on our servo saver is going to go right into this fork like that, and that will turn left and right. So then we want to take our front end assembly, and we're going to face it in this direction. And before we lock that down, we should probably fit our gears, because remember, those were a little tight. There we go. Apparently it was only tight the first time. There we go. Okay. We need to slide our drive shaft in. You can't drop it in, at least not without sliding the motor over. That might be the easiest way to go, actually. Let's slide the motor over all the way, making room for the drive shaft, and then we can lower the whole assembly like I was attempting to do a moment ago. Let's see if that will make it wide enough. And it will. So I will leave those screws loose for the moment on the motor. Definitely don't want these wires contacting our drive shaft. Just gently rotate this around until you feel it start to drop into the gear. Remember, the gear has that kind of not quite complete circle. It's been flattened off on one side to fit this. Same thing at this end. Let's just rotate it until you feel it start to drop. There we go. And then we can adjust how far out they need to be just by pulling them as we drop in this whole assembly.
Do you find these videos to be helpful, useful to you? Then please help me keep this channel going by donating. Click the link up here and you can donate safely through PayPal on either a one-time or a monthly basis, your choice.
Let's move these wires out of the way. There we go. Again, I just have to admire the fit on this vehicle. It's very nice. So we need, looks like a couple of different size screws, because we've got a different hole here and here than we have here and here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are countersunk. The front two are not. There must be like a bumper or something there. Let me just confirm. And it doesn't tell us. They don't. Ah, wait a second. Here we go. Okay, upside down pan. 1x4x6, 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 1x4x6. Same thing for these. So all four rear are 1.4x6, and the front two are 1.4x8. So that's going to be a pair of these guys here, or maybe those. We'll see. Let's start with the rear. And if you're doing it the way I am, be careful. Do not press down hard. You'll break your body posts. You don't have to press very hard with these screws anyway. Remember, we're just kind of anchoring stuff at the moment. Tighten them down after all the screws are in place. Remember, two fingers on the screwdriver. Be gentle. Oops. And one of those screws has gotten away from me. I'm not sure where I'll find it. Did I get it in between the pages? No. Might as well cap that off. Maybe I dropped it on the floor. Well, that is diabolical. It is kind of odd that they have us using countersinks everywhere else except the forwardmost screws. I'm just going to move forward and I'm going to look around for that screw as I go. Hopefully it will turn up. Okay, and we attach our linkages with 1.4 by 6s. Looks like those two right there. And where do they recommend attaching? Rearmost of the two Ackerman holes. Now, do these go on above or below? I think they go in from below. Because if we do them from above, they're going to really bend up. So, because right now the suspension's at its lowest. So that makes sense. There's our little front bumper. Oh, damn it. These two washers right here are supposed to be put on the drive shaft on either side in between the C-clips and the diff case, but I really don't see any reason for that, particularly up front. And that axle, I mean, the drive shaft is designed to float if needed, especially if the chassis flexes. So I'm just going to leave those off. I don't feel like taking it all apart again. I really don't see how that's going to provide any benefit, because the front one in particular is just going to, you know, float back and forth in between this C-clip and the bearing. It's not going to serve any purpose. Okay, bumper. I wish these directions were a little bit more detailed. Those are going to be our wheel nuts right there. This looks like some type of body post mount, maybe. Let's see. I wonder when they're going to get into the electronics here. Okay, I see where that body post goes. I have a feeling that because we're building the buggy, we are going to need to trim off these posts here, because we're not going to be using those. And if you recall, I said this thing looks like a body post. It is. It is going to plug in right here. And we're going to put a screw through there. Right here, 1x4 by 6. I think what I'm going to do is take this one right here. I think I got something confused. And I'm going to use these two screws here for the diff mount. And if they start bottoming out, I'll know they're too long. And they are not. Excellent. So this is going to mount our body screw. That's why we ended up with a lone screw there. Okay, now let me just check something on these body posts. I wonder if in the beginning I missed something about trimming those off. They show them without them, of course. I had noticed that. But they don't mention anything about that. And that's kind of typical with these kits. There's usually a lot left unsaid, as it were. Like, let's see, we got some CA. I've never seen them say add CA to one of these little things. Let's see where that's going to go. Okay, so this piece. Okay, it took me a moment because it looked like they were saying it should be, you know, in line with the servo mount. And what it does is it fits into this location here, and that's odd that this isn't just molded with that closed. Now, once that's in place and glued in place, we should still be able to get our battery lead through that hole, because that is our battery lead, and that will fit. I still don't totally see where the benefit is for that, and I almost don't want to glue it in until I know that everything else is accounted for, that isn't going to be a problem. Maybe what I'll do is just tack it in place so that I can remove it again if I need to. Okay, I'll glue it in place. Okay, that's enough. I'm not going to overdo it. Rather have it pop off once and have to re-glue it than have it be welded in place, and if I need to get it off, I can't. So let's see. Okay, our switch goes down here. Now, in this image, the switch looks like it's attached to the board. And they have the board oriented like this with the FETs over here and the servo plug over here. And that is going to screw on like that. Then how do we get this wire through? I don't think that's going to work. I think I'm going to need to mount it this way with the FETs facing this direction, so the motor cable, or excuse me, the battery cable can drop in like that. This will just curl back out of the way along with the antenna, and the switch wire looks like it snaps in place. Question is, which way is on and which way is off? I'm betting on is in that direction. So I want it to face this way to meet up with the text there, match up. And it looks like it's set up like a couple of clips. So we can push this in and it'll snap into place. And needle nose pliers might be the best way to get that into place. There we go. So I hope you can see this. I wish I had a little flashlight or something handy. But there's a little rectangular hole for the switch, and there's like a little hook snap on either side, and you just press it down until it snaps clean into those two holes. And there it is on the bottom. So that's good. And take our servo wire, and that's going to be interesting. I think I'm going to go ahead and loosen up the servo for a moment and route that wire differently. It'll also give me an opportunity to show you the switch a little more clearly. Okay, that should give you a good look at the switch and how it snaps into place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the servo wire towards the rear here, because this little tab here is preventing me from getting it around the back there. So, because I want to be able to kind of tuck the excess cabling there out of the way. And if you pull out your servo, make sure that you've got the servo saver back in that fork, or you won't have steering when you put everything back together. You'll have to take it apart again. So let's see how our servo is going to plug in there. So the little hooks face downward, and that's upright like that. Is that correct? Maybe it's this way. When it comes to making sure that you got stuff in the right direction, take your time with these little plugs. You don't want to bend any of these pins. No, that's not right. It's got to be like that. There we go. Not a lot of tolerances, so make sure you're routing your wires carefully. I'm just running that out and around that wire, the thicker wire there for the power switch. There we go. So I'm putting the power switch wire across behind the motor and around these two mounting pins like that. And then over the servo. And then this wire for the servo itself will go right there. Actually, let's try doing it like that, so it's not in the way. There's a little switch here, and that's probably our bind switch. Now, I'm not planning on screwing this down right now because I don't know about binding and everything else. So what I'm really just trying to do is make sure that this is going to close down on there. Very tight spot. Let's get the motor tightened down. Moved into place. Maybe I should tuck those wires under and across. I'm not sure that's going to work. Let's take this off and give it a try. I might have to tuck this into here. This is a capacitor. In fact, that is probably the best way to go. I think I'll leave those wires as they are. Okay. So I guess what I want to kind of do is fold these wires a little bit. There we go. Tuck these wires down along the side here. There's a little hole in the center you can pull your antenna through. Okay, I think these are impact, so I may actually need to spin this around. That would be a problem. Let's give it a try. Wow, see, a lot of trial and error with this kind of thing because it is very, very tight. I'm going to really enjoy building all of this up onto that carbon chassis because there'll be so much more space and so many more mounting options. Won't have this big box to try to get closed. I don't want that servo wire touching the motor or the drive shaft, so I'm going to kind of have to slide it around the side there. That can still drop in there. So the capacitor can tuck right in there. And these two wires tuck in here like that. There we go. Okay. And there is our little port for binding our radio. Okay, those screws don't work. Even though it's the right ones. Should be the right ones. Okay, I'm thinking I need to use those screws right there, because those are long for what they're doing. Okay. Okay. Okay, so here's our legend. So there we go. Okay, 7.2 volts. That's what we got. They sell these on the same site with the cars. Probably a good idea to buy it from them. That way you know you're going to be getting the right size. And this probably has some juice in it, hopefully enough for a test. Those fit in there nicely. Okay. Hold that down. Power it up. There we go. Not a lot of steering throw. No reverse. There we go. Okay, just to be clear on how I did that, okay? Take your transmitter, have it off, hold down SW1, turn it on. That'll start blinking. Hold down the little white bind switch and turn the power on. While holding that down, the green light will start flashing. You can release it, they'll bind together, and the lights will stop flashing, and you're all set. And you'll be in business. And that should be the last time you need to worry about doing that.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Please click like and please subscribe to my channel. If you click the bell icon, you'll receive notifications every time I launch a new video. Thank you for watching.